Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. Let read together. Have fun. Before joining the Yuhua sect, he had thought that nascent soul monks were so unattainable, just because there were only a handful of nascent soul monks in the small desert state. Later, when he walked out of Huangzhou and entered the Yuhua gate, he realized that the world turned out to be very big. Nascent soul, which he used to think was superior, could be seen everywhere here. With practice day after day, Chen Xiao's cultivation level also improved by leaps and bounds. As his horizons broadened and his status in the sect improved, he became more and more contemptuous of the monks in Huangzhou, and hated that he was an indigenous person in Huangzhou. This is also true. The reason for not going back for many years. But he didn't expect that it was the Yuanying monk from this small sect who wiped out his father's sect. The hatred for killing my father is irreconcilable. Master, what about Mu Lao? Who was he harmed by? Chen Xiao thought of something and said in a deep voice. Because of this incident, he was indirectly involved with him, and the senior leaders of the sect criticized him, which may affect his future development prospects, just like a stain on a white paper, which made Chen Xiao feel aggrieved. Zhu Yangzun shook his head and said, "It's not clear yet, but all the spearheads are pointed at Xiantian sect, but the question is, what ability does this small sect have to kill Elder Mu? Just rely on the master of Piaomiao Peak in the nascent soul realm? So, the murderer is someone else." Chen Xiao said immediately. He did not associate Mu Lao's death with Yi Junlin at all, because this was impossible due to the gap in cultivation and strength. To know. The Yuhua Gate is the top holy land for cultivating immortals in the eastern region. The monks who come out from here are all possessed of great supernatural powers. How can the natives of barbarian lands like Huangzhou compare? But no matter what, Xiantian sect must be destroyed. The master of Piaomiao Peak must die too. It just so happens that the ancient secret realm appears in Huangzhou this time. The sect will send elders to go with you. Remember, you represent the Yuhua sect, and you will compete with the teams of other big forces. As for revenge, you can do it after it's over. I hope you can sort out the priorities, do you understand? Zhu Yangzun warned seriously. Having said this, Chen Xiao knew the importance of this time and naturally did not dare to show any disobedience. His eyes were straight, and he cupped his hands and said, "Disciple, take your orders. Go ahead." Yes. Looking at Chen Xiao's leaving figure, Zhu Yangzun nodded. This was his most satisfied disciple. He came first in the sect competition, and as a master, he was also honored. With the cultivation resources bestowed by our ancestors this time, I am sure to break through the Mahayana bottleneck and reach the realm of overcoming the tribulation. As everyone knows. Transformed into a god, he is called a god. When combined, they are called Tianjun. Mahayana means the venerable, or the supreme. And overcoming the tribulation, he has the title of virtual immortal. Just imagine, being able to be associated with the word immortal is enough to show how terrifying the power of this realm is. Huangzhou, the most remote dojo with almost no sense of existence, suddenly became famous in the eastern region because of an ancient secret realm. Many immortal dynasties, cultivation families, and various sects have received this breaking news. While they were surprised, they all felt hot inside and were ready to make a move. Damn it! There is actually a fairyland in Huangzhou. Isn't it known as the most backward barbarian land? I guess his character has exploded. The monks in Huangzhou are going to be lucky this time. This fellow Taoist, you are too naive. The monks in Huangzhou have always been poor and weak. How could this kind of immortal fate fall into their hands? That's right, even the top major forces in the eastern region are preparing to send teams to plunder resources. The monks from Huangzhou can only watch helplessly. Why are you talking about this? Let's go there quickly. We won't even be able to drink soup if we're late. In all the major states in the eastern region, warships can be seen passing by everywhere in the sky, and there are also monks riding horses or flying with swords, all heading straight for the barren states. At this time, the Luotian secret realm was already crowded with people outside even though it hadn't officially opened yet. Practitioners can be seen everywhere in the sky and on the ground. The place is very lively and noisy. Of course, they were all local monks from Huangzhou. Because they were the closest, they rushed to the scene first. This time the secret realm is born, 4 of the 5 major sects have come so far. Hey, why didn't Xiantian sect come? Are you giving up? That's not true. After all, it has annexed Fenglei sect, and its overall strength can be among the best in Huangzhou. Suddenly, along with heroic laughter, a terrifying aura spread, causing many monks to cast fearful looks. Transform into a god. Everyone's scalp was numb, as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. The leader of the Moving Mountain sect said in surprise, "It's the ancestor who has come out of seclusion." In the sky, there was an old man wearing loose robes, with an immortal spirit and a red face, stepping forward with his hands behind his back. His eyes were like lightning, making it difficult to look directly at him, and the aura of cultivation released from his body was extremely strong. I happened to be out of seclusion today and heard that there is an ancient secret realm here. It seems to be God's will. This time, my mountain-moving sect must enter the secret realm first. Fellow Taoists here, if you are dissatisfied, you can stand up. I will accompany you to the end. Ouyang Feng, the ancestor of the Banshan sect, looked up to the sky and roared loudly, making monks within 100 miles around feel dizzy. After a long period of seclusion and practice, he finally made a difficult breakthrough to become a god. In addition to his excitement, he also had the intention to show off his talents. Ancestor is mighty. Ancestor is invincible. The monks of the Moving Mountain sect cheered excitedly, and their collective sense of honor reached its peak. Are you convinced? Ouyang Feng looked at them with a condescending tone. The people of the 3 major sects, Tianjian sect, Chenghe sect, and Shaoyao sect, were all shocked, with deep awe in their eyes. Transformation. That was the transformation. In the barren state, where there were only a handful of Yuanying, a cultivator of the transformation realm was born, which was like a ferocious giant crocodile appearing in a lake full of fish. This was an absolutely invincible existence. The ancestor of the Banshan sect who broke this record would be regarded as a symbol of a milestone by the cultivators of the barren state. We will obey the decree of the god. The head of the Tianjian sect had a flash of envy in his eyes, then he sighed, stood up and bowed. The other 3 leaders also gave in and said in unison, "We will obey the decree of the god." Seeing this, the other casual cultivators were convinced and knew that the overall situation was settled. All the cultivators in the sky consciously landed on the ground, not daring to fly up to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with Ouyang Feng, fearing to anger the newly born god. Once the god of transformation appears, who will compete with him? The much-anticipated Ouyang Feng laughed out loud, feeling quite proud. From today on, he is the real number 1 in the wasteland state. Boom. At this moment, countless strange and powerful auras gathered from all directions like waves. Oh my god. Ouyang Feng almost lost his balance and was about to explode, but he saw a scene that he could never imagine in his life. He was stunned as if he was cast into a fixed body spell. The huge warships that covered the sky were all made of rare treasures, with many mysterious formations engraved on the surface, releasing a thrilling aura. Flags with various patterns fluttered, representing various forces. In addition, there were also cultivators flying on swords or riding mounts, all of whom did not hide their own cultivation and rushed here aggressively. The Tianwu Temple is here. You natives of Huangzhou, retreat quickly. The Wuying sect is here, get out of here if you know what's good for you. The first army of the Pingtian dynasty will lead the way. Those who stand in my way will die. This ancient secret realm belongs to my Huangji sect. No one can take it. Angry shouts and roars resounded through the world like thunder. The Jindan cultivators who are rarely seen in Huangzhou at ordinary times are now as numerous as cattle hair, and even Yuanying cultivators are emerging in an endless stream. Huh? There is actually a Huashan in this Huangzhou? An outside cultivator exclaimed. After all, Ouyang Feng was too conspicuous. The other natives of Huangzhou were standing on the ground, but he was the only one standing in the sky, which looked very pretentious. Swish, swish, swish. In an instant, hundreds of huge divine consciousnesses gathered and locked onto Ouyang Feng. Beads of sweat appeared on Ouyang Feng's forehead, and the hair on his body almost exploded. God transformation. These are all God transformations. He howled wildly in his heart, the blood in his body froze to the bone, and he felt that his worldview had collapsed. After all, he had worked hard to break through to the God of transformation, and was one of the most famous figures in the barren state in the past 100,000 years. Just when he was full of pride and invincible faith, this group of foreign cultivators who broke into the barren state, there were hundreds of gods of transformation. If it were anyone, their mentality would collapse. At this time, Ouyang Feng was so scared that his face turned pale. He trembled and bowed his hands, forcing a smile and said, "All, fellow Taoists, I am the ancestor of the Moving Mountain sect, Ouyang Feng, you can just call me Xiao Feng." Shameless old thing, still pretending to be young in front of us? Get out of here. You have no right to speak here. A legion commander from a certain immortal dynasty, wearing dragon scale armor and holding a halberd, scolded rudely. Playful laughter rang out everywhere. The cultivators of the other 13 Dao states in the eastern region all looked at Ouyang Feng as if he were a clown. You. Ouyang Feng's face turned pale and blue, and he felt extremely aggrieved and trembling with anger. Ancestor. The monks of Banshan sect were furious. They didn't expect that the ancestors of the transformation realm, who they were so proud of, had such low status in front of the monks of other Daozhou. What an eyesore, why are you still standing there? You don't think you have the qualifications to be on an equal footing with us, do you? Another elder of the transformation realm from a big sect spoke up, his tone full of contempt. The natives of the wasteland state really don't know the importance of the matter. Even if they break through the transformation realm, they are still the lowest and most inferior people. A blue-clothed sword cultivator who was very famous in a certain dojo sneered sarcastically. That's right, you don't know the rules at all. Even if the monks of the wasteland state break through the transformation realm, they are only the lowest class. Do you really think you are a big shot? Old thing, get out of here quickly, don't embarrass yourself. The mocking voices came one after another, as if slapping Ouyang Feng's old face. This time, it was not just the Banshan sect. All cultivators from the wasteland state gritted their teeth, clenched their fists tightly, and glared at each other. Just because the other party humiliated the entire wasteland state cultivation world. Ouyang Feng's face was extremely ugly, and he felt very angry inside. Did he not deserve respect just because he was born in the wasteland state? Even foreign cultivators with lower realms than him dared to point at his nose and mock him. Do you really think he has no temper? Fellow Taoists, I am a native of the wasteland state. I was born and rooted in the wasteland state. It is true that the environment here is bad, but the creatures here are not lowly. After all, I am a cultivator in the God transformation realm. Why should I go down obediently and let you step on my head? Ouyang Feng's face was red and his neck was thick, and he argued with reason. Old dog, are you looking for death? The God transformation cultivators from external forces shouted angrily, trying to use their power to suppress others and force Ouyang Feng to admit his defeat. The huge killing intent was like a wave, and Ouyang Feng felt cold all over and his heart was trembling. You guys. His hair was numb and his throat was swallowing saliva. He had practiced hard for many years before breaking through to the God of Incarnation. He could live a carefree life for tens of thousands of years. Why should an accident happen at this critical moment? Oh, just give in. After thinking about it, Ouyang Feng gritted his teeth and descended in disgrace. The cultivators of the desolate state are really afraid of death. Trash is trash. This scene made the foreign cultivators laugh, and the contempt in their eyes was even greater. Ouyang Feng's face was burning with pain. He felt that his life was really cowardly, but in order to survive, he had to give in. Suddenly, Ouyang Feng's heart trembled. At this time, the cultivators of the desolate state below were silent, their faces full of disappointment, and those countless pairs of dim eyes pierced Ouyang chest like a sharp sword. Especially the monks of Banshan sect, seeing their ancestors being so cowardly, they felt like the sky was falling, and all of them became soulless. Ouyang felt so uncomfortable, as if there were millions of ants biting and stinging his heart, and there was a voice in his brain that made his breathing gradually heavier. No. I am the god of desolate state, the #1 person in desolate state. If even I think of myself as lowly, what future does this desolate state have? Even if I avoid the sharp edge this time and live in a cowardly way, I will leave a demon in my heart, and I would rather die than live. Ouyang Feng's thoughts were clear, as if he had made up his mind, his eyes became particularly firm, and his anger exploded and swept his body, his blood was boiling like magma, burning all over his body. The descending figure suddenly stopped. Then, it rose like a meteor. Under countless surprised gazes, Ouyang Feng's hair fluttered, his eyes shot out 2 beams of cold light that split the sky, and he let out a long roar to the sky, like a tiger's roar and a dragon's roar, exciting his blood. Cultivators from Huangzhou, why fear a battle? If anyone disobeys, stand up for me. The majestic voice was full of determination, containing the meaning of facing death with indifference, and echoed above the vast sky. Swish. The high-pitched sound of the sword resounded through the world. In Ouyang Feng's hand, there was an ancient heavy sword, the sword body was engraved with a continuous mountain pattern, and it emitted a yellow halo as hot as a small sun. At this time, he held the heavy sword in his hand and pointed it forward. Among the cultivators in the sky, his figure was so thin, lonely, but extremely dazzling. Ancestor. The disciple of the Banshan sect roared with red eyes. It has appeared. The strongest magic weapon of the Banshan sect, the 8th grade treasure, Kunshin sword. The sect master said with pride and excitement. Kunshin sword, nothing can be broken. It is the well-deserved magic weapon of the Banshan sect. Senior. The hearts of the monks in Huangzhou were shocked. They didn't expect that there would be a reversal later. Their originally dim eyes brightened again. Bold. Arrogant. Old man, you are looking for death. The angry shouts came one after another, like a storm. Many foreign monks were very angry and felt insulted. They were ready to attack and kill Ouyang Feng. Facing the overwhelming terrifying power, Ouyang Feng's back was straighter than ever. His eyes were shining, and there was a fearless belief between his eyebrows. Come and fight. Ouyang Feng was desperate and shouted. Let's go together and kill this old dog. Someone said angrily. At this time, an arrogant voice sounded in the team, wait a minute. Open. He is a middle-aged man wearing a purple gold crown and a dragon robe. He is sitting cross-legged on a gorgeous chariot with a proud posture. There are several terrifying beasts pulling at the front of the chariot, exuding a rich blood energy that is breathtaking. King Jun Lin of Wuzhou Shuntian dynasty, a powerful man in the late stage of becoming a god. There was a monk who was afraid of Tao. King Jun Lin said playfully, this old guy is just a monk from a deserted state, and with so many of us dealing with him, I'm afraid it will make people laugh if word spreads about it. Let's do this. I am willing to show my shame and suppress him with only one hand. Hear the words. Everyone thought it was reasonable and chose to sit on the sidelines. Old dog, let me show you how big the gap is between you and us. King Jun Lin sneered and raised his hand like lightning. Boom. The majestic magic power turned into a giant hand holding up the sky, and slapped Ouyang Feng fiercely with power. Kill. Ouyang Feng shouted violently, swung the Kunshin sword and slashed out. The thick earth-yellow sword light shattered the void, and the momentum was surging. Boom. The explosion was earth-shattering. After the smoke dissipated, Ouyang Feng stood tall with his heavy sword in hand. There was blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. You actually blocked it? King Jun Lin's smile disappeared, his gaze focused on everyone, and he disappeared from the chariot. In an instant, he was in front of Ouyang Feng, his raised palms bent like dragon claws. The top-level magical power on Earth, Dragon Claw. Instantly, the surging and terrifying pressure came. Ouyang Feng gritted his teeth and waved the Kunshan sword to block it. The magic power in his body was like a torrent, pouring out crazily. Clang! The sound of gold and iron clashing shook the heaven and earth. An old man fell down and hit the ground with a bang. His hair was disheveled and blood was dripping from the corner of his mouth. He held the Kunshan sword and stood up with difficulty, his eyes full of unwillingness. Humph, it's really a waste. King Junlin pretended to be relaxed, but he was actually very annoyed. He relied on his high cultivation level and tried his best to attack, but he still couldn't kill this person with one blow, which was really embarrassing. Come again. Ouyang Feng shouted. The opponent's strength is indeed very strong. If he hadn't relied on the best treasures to resist, his body would have been smashed to pieces just now. This old guy has something. The other monks in the realm of transformation secretly said. King Junlin laughed in anger, how dare you provoke him? Then, he no longer held back, used various magical powers one by one, and killed Ouyang Feng. Ouyang Feng adjusted his condition and continued to fight with the Kunshan sword in his hand. The sword light reaches the sky, like a bright sun. As the ancestor of the Banshan sect, he displayed his sword skills to the fullest, and with the help of the power of the magic weapon, he fought hard with King Junlin. Soon, King Junlin became more and more irritable. He was confused and had a scar on his chest, bleeding out. King Junlin was completely angry. He impulsively broke his promise and directly raised his hand to summon the magic weapon, the 9th grade treasure weapon, Manhwa hammer. The Manhwa hammer was smashed out like a meteorite, strong winds covered the earth, and many monks were swaying, with horrified expressions on their faces. Boom! Kunshan's sword almost fell out of hand. Ouyang Feng's whole body shook violently, and blood surged in his body. He sneered, what did you say before? How embarrassing. King Junlin knew that he could not keep his face, and his eyes were fierce, and he growled, old man, I want you to die. After saying this, the momentum of Manhwa hammer was fierce, sweeping like a storm. Under the continuous resistance, Ouyang Feng finally couldn't support himself and was hit by a hammer until he vomited blood. He fell high to the ground, raising dust all over the sky. If you ask me for help, I can forget about it and spare your life. King Junlin holds a giant hammer and is domineering. He wants to completely destroy Ouyang Feng's dignity and break the backbone of the monks in Huangzhou. Ouyang Feng was covered in blood, lying on the ground with a weak breath like an old dog. How could he still have the carefree and high-spirited look of the divine king before? But in the eyes of the monks in Huangzhou, he is the well-deserved #1 divine king. Senior, that's enough. Everyone's eyes were red and they choked with sobs. Ancestor. The monks of the Banshan sect were distraught and cried loudly. Ouyang Feng leaned on his sword with difficulty and slowly stood up from the ground. His figure was a little staggering, but he gritted his teeth and steadied himself. He raised his old face covered with blood, his eyes deep and surprisingly calm. He did not look at King Junlin, but at the outsiders in the sky. Die for integrity, die for a good cause. I just want to tell you one thing, the cultivators of Huangzhou cannot be insulted. The firm voice echoed in all directions, sounded deep in everyone's heart, and goosebumps appeared all over the body. The cultivators of Huangzhou cannot be insulted. The roar was like a huge wave, resounding throughout the world of Huangzhou. In an instant, the Huangzhou cultivators present shared the same hatred and protected Ouyang Feng in front of them. It seemed that they were going to perish together and fly into the fire. This? The outsiders were all shocked and moved. I don't know why, even though these cultivators from the wasteland state are very weak, I feel terrified when facing them. The most important thing is, things have come to this point, and it is indeed bullying. If it gets out, it will be a bad reputation and discredit the forces I belong to. The face of King Junlin changed, and then he grinned, do you think that ants can kill elephants? Dream on. Ants are ants. After that, he was about to gather strength and swing the Manhwa hammer to smash it down. Protect the ancestors. The leader of the Banshan sect roared. Desolate state cultivators, all of you fight. All the major sects, cultivation families, and scattered cultivators from various countries roared to the sky, filled with righteous indignation. At this moment, the change suddenly occurred. Several more terrifying and powerful auras came. That is? Many people's scalps almost exploded, and their eyes were full of awe. Amitba. A group of monks in cassocks, chanting Buddhist names, stepping on golden lotuses, strolling in the air. It's the hanging temple in Fuizhou. Someone exclaimed. It's really lively today. A man in brocade clothes with dark purple hair hanging down to his waist and an evil face appeared, shaking a white fan in his hand, looking chic and romantic. He sat upright on a sapphire chariot, which was pulled by 9 dragons in front. Each dragon had a terrifying aura, and their cultivation was surprisingly at the level of the God Transformation Realm. Riding a God Transformation Realm dragon as a mount, it can be seen that the family is powerful. All around, there were strong men sent by the family to protect them, all with lightning eyes and strong aura. The strongest of the 3 guards was even more unfathomable. Killing a God Transformation Realm was like killing a dog. That is Shui Tianyi, the young master of the Shui family, who is known as the first cultivation family in Lingzhou. Someone gasped. Boom. At this time, the last group of people, without concealing their terrifying momentum that overwhelmed the other 2 groups, immediately attracted countless shocked eyes. Master Jingchen, who led the hanging temple, had a trace of fear in his eyes, and clasped his hands together and silently chanted the Buddha's name. Shui Tianyi, the young master of the Shui family, looked unhappy, but he resisted the urge to get angry. Oh my god, even the Yuhua sect in Qingzhou has come. Everyone was in an uproar. Yuhua sect is the top force in the East region. Its status has been unshakable for millions of years. It is a well-deserved holy place for cultivating immortals. On the golden flying boat, there stood a group of Yuhua sect monks, among whom there were several extremely powerful auras, which were emitted by the 9 inner sect elders. Holy Son, we are here. Elder Yan did not dare to neglect the young man in front of him, and bowed his hands and said in a deep voice. There was a strong energy breath coming out of the young man's mouth and nose, and his whole body was shrouded in mysterious mist, and the pores of his body were emitting brilliant solar essence. This is the strongest true disciple of Yuhua sect, and the recently established Holy Son. How respected is his status, even higher than the inner sect elders. Huangzhou. At this time, Chen Shao looked at this long-lost world and murmured. This is the place where he was born and raised, but now, it has become a stain he doesn't want to mention. No one knows how much impact his worldview has suffered when he first joined Yuhua sect. Other fellow disciples are either from powerful cultivation families or from an immortal dynasty. The dojo where they are located is rich in resources and extremely rich in spiritual energy. And he is just a small cultivator in a remote village. Fortunately, he awakened the sun immortal body, and from then on he changed his fate against the will of heaven and became the most dazzling prodigy of Yuhua sect step by step. But this humble origin always makes Chen Shao feel embarrassed. Now that he has returned to his hometown, he does not feel excited or nostalgic, but only disgusted and irritated. Oh my god, that is Chen Shao, the holy son of Yuhua sect. I have heard of him. He has the body of the sun immortal, and is known as invincible among his peers. Many cultivators exclaimed. After all, Yuhua sect is the top force in the eastern region, and any disturbance inside is related to the direction of the external situation. Everyone knows that there is a young man named Chen Shao in Yuhua sect, who defeated all the true disciples in the sect competition and was listed as the contemporary Holy Son. There is no doubt that this will be the most dazzling newcomer in the eastern region in the future. In the next 100,000 years, he will write a new legend. Just because this boy has the potential to become an immortal. Suddenly, one after another, the cultivators of Huangzhou reacted and said in shock, Chen Shao? Isn't that the young master of Fenglei sect? This is our own people in Huangzhou. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was in an uproar. What? The holy son of Yuhua sect is from this barren and backward barbarian land. How is it possible? Such a top-notch genius was born in such a shabby place? This is troublesome. Will we humiliate the monks of Huangzhou? The monks from the other 13 Daozhou states all looked at him in astonishment. Apparently, the origin of the holy son of the Yuhua sect shocked them greatly. Feeling the strange looks in countless people's eyes, Chen Shao pretended to be calm on the surface, but there was a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. What he was most worried about happened. Elder Yan understood what he was saying, and suddenly threw down his sleeves, and rolled up the group of monks from Huangzhou who had just shouted in the air. Then a terrifying force shook, and the bodies of tens of thousands of monks exploded in an instant. Blood rained freely, and the air was filled with the smell of blood. I, the holy son of the Yuhua sect, am not something you ants can discuss. Anyone who talks nonsense again will be killed. Elder Yan shouted violently. At this moment, the entire uproar suddenly fell into silence. Chen Shao looked indifferent and unmoved. At this time, King Junlin felt ashamed. After all, he had humiliated the monks from Huangzhou before. Who would have thought that a saint from the Ascension sect would emerge from this small place? With this status, let alone a king-level figure like him, even the head of the Shuntian dynasty would not dare to offend him. After thinking about it, King Junlin said cautiously, "Chen Xingzi, may I ask if these monks from the wilderness can be handed over to me?" If Chen Shao wanted to stop him, King Junlin would stop him without saying a word. Chen Shao glanced at him lightly, moved his thin lips slightly, and uttered 2 words, "Whatever." See this. King Junlin was overjoyed and said, "Thank you, Holy Son Chen." After saying that, he looked at Ouyang Feng with a ferocious smile on his face, and was about to hit Ouyang Feng with the Hunyuan hammer in his hand. No. The monk Huangzhou's eyes were full of despair, and the hope in his heart was extinguished. Ouyang Feng had a sad smile on his face, shook his head and said nothing. He stood up unsteadily, wanting to swing the sword with great spirit when he was young at the end. To this, Chen Shao turned a blind eye. In his eyes, these were all lowly natives, but he had already broken away from the lowly status and was a true master. Sect master, that is the young master of Fenglei sect, what should we do? On the inconspicuous mountain in the distance, the master of Hidden Sword Peak said worriedly. My guess is correct. This time when the secret realm is born, Chen Laogo's son will definitely come. Fortunately, Xiantian sect did not show up rashly. The sect leader Su Yonyan said with palpitations. Sect master, while they are snatching the secret realm, our Xiantian sect should move quickly. This eastern territory is so big, we need to find a place to hide first. I agree. Didn't you hear someone calling him the Holy Son just now? It's best for us to escape. By the way, where is junior brother Yi? He is the hope of Xiantian sect. Sudden. The master of Tianxiang Peak seemed to have seen something. He stretched out his hand to cover his delicate lips, his beautiful eyes widened in shock. Everyone, look at that, junior brother Yi seems to have passed. What? Su Yonyan was shocked. Hurry, bring him back quickly. Chen Shao is right there. Wouldn't he be courting death if he went now? Now. Just when the war was about to break out, a voice of cursing spread from far to near in all directions. Damn it, I'm being bullied to the point of being bullied by outsiders. This deserted state can't survive without me. Don't move around. Everyone, please stand by your side. Swish, swish, swish. Countless looks of astonishment gathered in the past. They want to see who dares to be so arrogant? I saw a handsome young man wearing a black robe embroidered with gold patterns, making a high-profile appearance in front of everyone, with his long silver-white hair flying in sharp contrast. Who is coming? Tell me your name. King Junlin sneered. Your eldest father, Yi Junlin. Yi Junlin raised his voice.